Hey, everybody, welcome to the busiest, most wonderful time of the sports year. I'm the maestro, Kevin Crane.
I'm the conquistador, Dave Height. And it's NFL kickoff time, baby.
Everything's rocking and rolling now. Now we've got the NFL along with college football, baseball heading towards the postseason, NASCAR in their postseason, basketball and hockey on the horizon.
Gearing up for their preseason stuff. It's a full-time slate here, kids.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
Nice.
Wasn't bad.
That wasn't horrible.
Bad. My crappy voice actually came through for once. But in the end, what this means here, as we record on September the 9th, we have got the kickoff game between the Buccaneers and Cowboys. Don't be surprised if we click that on while we're recording.
We have to check and see what's going on.
Based on, how long this goes. As Dave said last week, we might end up having to go 4 segments here for a while because we've got season predictions from our panel for the NFL. We've got week 1 picks from our panel for the NFL. And then we've got our recap of week 1 of college football,
which was an absolute disaster for myself.
The new rules. I'm telling you, it's the new rules you guys put me under for these picks.
It's all right, though. It's fine.
I'm going to have to make a notation in the archives. It's like the steroid era in baseball where you guys say point spreads have to be under 10. I would have put Alabama, Miami on there. Could have had an easy one. No, can't do that.
Nope.
And this is the disaster we got. And we'll get to that here in a little bit. But as Dave said, because the NFL is starting tonight, we are devoting our first segment entirely to professional football. All of our panelists have their predictions for the 2021-2022 season in. It was a struggle. I have to admit, a little bit of a struggle, as it always is, with these mooks. Including my compatriot, my best friend, my brother from another mother even missed a pick.
Yep. Trying to get it rushed in before we ran off to a concert yesterday.
Yes, check out our weekend edition. Wonderful segue, by the way.
You're welcome.
Our review of the unbelievable Guns N' Roses Mammoth WVH show at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. That's going to take 2 segments of the weekend edition.
Easily.
Because that's how long they played.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, so
enough of a teaser.
Let's look through our predictions first and foremost. And I was a little surprised that you and I and Mrs. C were pretty much simpatico, in tune with most of our picks, including
that's a little crazy there,
including the champion.
Yeah, kind of scary there.
We are going with the Buffalo Bills to win the whole thing this year.
Yes, the elder statesman is going with the Chiefs.
A safe pick.
Yep, not bad. The Big Blue W, the Juggler, and the Governor are all going with the Buccaneers.
Again, safe picks.
Safe pick. And then the Big Easy going with the Packers. Trying to think maybe they're going to ride that final wave.
Yeah, none of those are really bad picks. The only pick, we started this last year because of the COVID thing. We expanded how many tiebreakers we pick for the NFL. So now we pick not only conference champions and MVP and overall champion, but also you pick the 2 teams who are going to play for the title in both the AFC and the NFC.
Yes.
So Doug picking the Bears in the NFC title game kind of bothers me a little bit.
Wow, that's just disturbing on many levels.
At least he had some semblance of common sense to realize that the Buccaneers would beat them.
This is true.
But otherwise, we've got the usual cast of suspects. The 49ers, we got a couple of those picks to get to the NFC title game.
The Rams.
Couple of Rams.
Pick.
Yep.
I took the Seahawks instead of the Rams.
Right. Packers, as we mentioned with Aaron.
Yep.
AFC, it looks a lot like Bills, Chiefs, Bills, Chiefs, Bills, Chiefs.
Except Doug, who went with the Raiders instead of the Chiefs.
The Ravens.
Or the Ravens, sorry, yeah.
Which we'll get to that in a couple minutes. That's not looking like a great pick right now.
No, that's looking a little frightening, as we will digress into later.
Excuse me. My voice is probably going to be a little rough from all the singing and screaming from last night.
Yes.
So, but that's there's really no more need to get into detail on it.
No.
Dave gave you the 8 championship picks. Nothing really out of the ordinary, nothing shocking. Of course, what's going to be interesting is come Sunday. I'm not saying come tonight, because if the Cowboys beat the Buccaneers,
there's something wrong in the world.
Yes. Come Sunday, we'll start to see those 1 or 2 surprise teams put on a good performance, start to create some buzz. Young players will start to play better than they should.
And it could just be adrenaline getting them through.
Right. So, pretty safe picks. Deal with it. Now, we picked almost the entire slate for week 1. Of course,
we were not touching the Bears and the Rams.
Right. Even though all the point spreads for pro games are usually under 10 for the most part.
Yeah.
I just said, no way. No way.
Nope. Not worth it.
Yeah. And Doug would have probably been the one to pick the Bears.
Probably would have.
And I know a lot of people are going back and forth with the Rams and wondering, are they really going to be better with Matthew Stafford? Are we giving him too much credit? Did they overpay for him? Is he really worth what they gave up to bring him in over Jared Goff? I think he is.
So do I. He's a lot more accurate. Seeing what he was able to do in Detroit, where he pretty much had nothing around him forever, never had a defense to keep him in a game. I mean, how many late leads did they blow over the years? It's pretty pathetic.
Yeah, the key is, number 1, stay healthy.
Yep.
Number 2, I think, and again, we're going to talk about the Ravens and how their running back situation has just completely imploded on them. I think the trade that the Rams made for Sony Michel with the Patriots could end up being the difference.
You know, it very well could. Michel, he's not been spectacular, but he's solid. He will get you those couple yards. He can catch out of the backfield.
That's what I think is going to be the big deal. He's going to be the one that
he's going to be a safety net.
With Henderson and Michel, the combination might just be good enough. They've got 2 great receivers. If Stafford actually, again, stays healthy, Higbee is a solid tight end.
Yeah.
The defense goes without saying they're one of the top 5 or 6 in the league. The only thing outside of health that could really hurt them is they play in my opinion, they play in the toughest division in the NFL.
Yeah, out in the West is
the NFC West. You've got 4 potential playoff teams: San Francisco, Arizona, Seattle, and them. Yeah. So that could cause them some problems down the road. Whereas, like the Packers get a cakewalk through the NFC North.
Yeah, I would be surprised if they lost a game.
And the Bucs shouldn't have a huge problem repeating in the South.
No, they should run roughshod through that one.
Now, you and I, though, I think we agree on one thing. Coming out of the South, okay, the Panthers, whatever.
Yeah,
you know, the Falcons, whatever. If Jameis Winston can actually prove finally his potential, If the LASIK surgery worked.
Yeah, if he can read coverages deep down the field, which had been his biggest issue, if he can make that adjustment, then that Saints team is going to be a force down there.
Yes. Now, they just lost Latavius Murray, not to injury, but because of a contract dispute, which is interesting. There seem to be a lot more contract disputes here this offseason heading into the regular season than I'm used to hearing about.
Yeah, everybody wants to get paid.
But the Saints told Latavius, nope, hit the bricks, man.
Not going to do it. We don't have the cap room to make it happen, so bye-bye.
Yeah.
And that's what more teams have to have the balls to do, because you can't keep restructuring, and deferring everything down the road into the future.
Yep.
That's going to create even more problems, especially long-term problems that the Saints are now having to deal with.
Yeah, but the Saints problem, as opposed to maybe the other, let's say 15 teams in the league who just overpay their quarterbacks. That's the normal problem. $40 million contract to the quarterback. Ask the Houston Texans
how that's
work
out
out
for you.
You're going to have a healthy scratch sitting on the bench making $40 million a year in Deshaun Watson.
Because the league doesn't have the balls to do anything at this point.
The Saints are lucky in the respect that even though they did give Taysom Hill a ridiculous contract, it was ridiculous for the fact that you don't pay a backup quarterback the money that they did pay him. But Winston's not making a ton of money. If you combine Winston and Hill's two contracts, you're not even close to a Mahomes, a Ryan, a Rodgers.
No, you got two solid players right there.
Yeah, they spent their money unwisely in other areas. You're right. They've always had cap problems here recently. But you can't blame the quarterback this time.
No, you can't.
The Bears, of course, we're not expecting much from them.
Nope, not especially with Andy Dalton under center.
No.
And I still question that offensive line. That's still our big issue, along with the secondary.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree completely. Those are by far the two glaring problems the Bears have. Again, the North isn't that strong.
No.
They might be able to knock off the Lions. They might be able to knock off the Vikings. But, I mean, are we really looking at
You're probably looking at a split with them.
Yeah, are we looking at 5 or 6 wins at most for the Bears?
Probably. They're going to be under 500. It would be a miracle.
The question is going to be, are they going to be smart enough, which they weren't with Mitch Trubisky? They let a lame duck coach panic in John Fox and push Mitch Trubisky in because Mike Glennon sucked ass.
Yep.
Now, are we looking at a repeat of history?
The only issue
lame duck coach pushing our young stud rookie in because we've got a shitty veteran who might or might not be halfway decent.
Yeah. I will say there is no comparison between Trubisky and Fields. Trubisky was coming off of 1 year as a starter ever. He came late
at a mediocre college program.
Yeah, he came late to playing quarterback.
Right.
I don't think he started playing quarterback till he got to North Carolina. And then he had one mediocre year where he showed he had potential, but there wasn't enough there to know what he could or couldn't do, and he didn't have the experience to be able to step in. Fields, a proven starter, lots of experience, has shown what he's capable of leading a team and making big plays. So I would say Fields is more ready than probably a lot of the quarterbacks that have come out.
I do agree. I do agree that I would rather have a battle-tested kid coming out of college like Fields The only thing I worry about is we've seen this before. Quarterback is such a hard position to judge. An
It is.
offensive lineman, if you draft one, if you see one that's that good in college and you draft him, I mean, outside of the Bears who
draft injury prone,
right, as long as they're not dealing with back issues, like the Bears always seem to draft tackles with back issues, a guy's going to be a stud for 10 years. All he's got to do is take up space and figure basic blocking technique.
Yeah.
Quarterback is because I agree with you completely, wholeheartedly about Justin Fields. My problem is you can look back at history and look back at quarterbacks over the last just 10, 15 years.
Or the last 5.
A.J. McCarron, what happened to him? Came out of highly touted Alabama. Why isn't every Alabama quarterback prone to success? Now, Mac Jones is supposedly the second coming because Bill Belichick says so. Okay.
We'll see.
What
did he see in him that nobody else did?
Yeah. Matt Stafford, we were just talking about him. He's the last great quarterback to come out of Georgia. What happened to him? I thought he was great. He won 10, 11 games every year.
Yeah. Where do you see him? Who knows?
Who knows about Trevor Lawrence?
Right. That's a crapshoot right there, too.
Who knows about Trevor
Lawrence?
And
how many of these secondary guys who were starters and played 3 or 4 years, who wound up as backups for a year and never got a chance, who you thought you could see them playing on Saturday, doing well. You thought, all right, they've got the arm. They can read a defense. Right. They should do well. And they never even get a sniff of the field.
Yeah. And you wonder why all these GMs, all these head coaches like John Gruden, who have power with the front office, have showers, have beds, have pull-out couches.
They live there.
Yeah. Because they're so stressed about making the wrong decision. God bless them. I don't know how they do it.
And so instead of trying some of these young guys out, you wind up retreading.
Andy Dalton.
Nick Foles.
Who we still can't get rid of. All the Ravens running backs are going down. How about a quarterback or two?
Yeah.
So we can get rid of Nick Foles.
Please, somebody take him off our hands.
All right, real quick. Couple headlines, and then we get into our picks. We mentioned Deshaun Watson will not start week 1 for the Texans.
Nope, always a healthy scratch.
So we get the underwhelming Tyrod Taylor.
Woohoo.
For some reason, the San Diego Chargers loved him until they poked him in the lung.
Yeah, here you go. Another retread. This is what, his 3rd team?
At least his 3rd, yeah. And he's never proven anything.
No.
At least Andy Dalton had a run of 6 or 7 great years.
Yeah. And the only thing holding him back was their coach.
Oh, yeah. Let's not get started on Marvin Lewis, please. But, yeah, I don't understand the obsession with Tyrod Taylor. The Texans could literally be the worst team we've seen in a long, long time.
Yeah. Could this be the next Ofer?
I don't think so, because that division is so weak that it's
possible they could stumble
this
upon.
Week 1, we'll get to this week 1 pick. I have said this to you for days. This Jaguars-Texans game, to me, is a dumpster fire that I want to see.
Yeah, this is going to be
If I was a rich man, I would get direct ticket just for this game. How does Trevor Lawrence look? How does Urban Meyer coach everybody?
Yeah. And then this lack of offense that Texas is throwing out there. So,
and we talked about TJ Watt getting his 4-year, $112 million extension.
Crazy money for defense.
Yeah, it just came down today. Highest paid per year player on defense now in the NFL.
Whatever.
And of course, We talked about the Ravens, the running back situation. They lost Dobbins. Now they've lost Gus Edwards. They also have lost Marcus Peters on the defensive side. Yep. I don't know what's happening.
Jakeem Hill. I mean, between the ACL tears and a torn Achilles, their backfield has been decimated.
Yeah.
So
I don't think this is going to be a referendum on Harbaugh. I think this is going to be a referendum on Lamar Jackson. Can Lamar Jackson overcome all these early season obstacles and prove that he's worthy of one of these mega contracts we're talking about?
Yeah. So far, we haven't seen it.
No, he's regressed in my book.
Yeah, he has taken steps backward. So with the backfield, do they pull Le'Veon Bell off the practice squad this week? Trenton Cannon that they have just signed recently, and now I guess today they just picked up Devonta Freeman.
Yeah.
So they've got no running backs who know the playbook at this point.
Outside of their quarterback, who's basically a running back.
Yeah. So
he runs the ball better than he throws the ball.
Yeah. So basically, it's going to be on his shoulders.
Yep.
And hopefully for them, he doesn't take the big hit and get the injury.
All right. It is time. Picks. Of course, tonight's game, as we tape, Cowboys at Buccaneers. Everybody's taking the Bucs.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
I don't think anybody really knows for sure how Dak Prescott's going to look. Zach Martin is out on that offensive line for COVID reasons. The defense, I don't know if they're any better than they were last year when they were a sieve.
Yeah, they were bad. They were bad.
Tom Brady will not let the Buccaneers lose this game.
No. If they do, then there's something seriously wrong.
Now, the rest of the picks going through Sunday the 12th into Monday the 13th, I find them very intriguing because there's not a marquee matchup per se. It's a lot of bad teams versus bad teams, mediocre teams versus mediocre teams, decent teams versus decent teams.
Yeah, but there's not that stellar that you wanted to see.
Right.
We do not have a Georgia Clemson.
You're not getting a Rams Packers. You're not getting a Chiefs Bills right off the bat.
Yeah.
So, but that's why I said earlier, I think this is going to be a really interesting week to sort out what we're going to see going forward. Eagles at Falcons. Is Jalen Hurts for real? Is Nick Sirianni better than his opening press conference? Is he a doofus or is he actually a decent head coach?
We'll find out.
Everybody but Nick. Sorry. Everybody but Nick takes the Falcons. Nick takes the Eagles.
Wow. Big question there.
And now, a couple years ago, this would have been a marquee matchup. Steelers at the Bills. I think Big Ben's shot. Sorry.
Yeah, they should not have brought him back.
Going up to play at Orchard Park. Everybody takes the Bills.
Yep.
This one is a train wreck that I just would love to watch.
This is just bad.
Vikings at the Bengals. Kirk Cousins is known right now more for his stance on the vaccinations than he is for playing football.
So true.
The Bengals have got 3 good receivers. Joe Burrow's back, but you've got a head coach who hasn't proven yet he can do anything, let alone, I don't even know if he can tie his shoe.
He's got Velcro.
But he's on the hot seat. He has got to show some kind of improvement on this team. I think they're going to do it.
Yep. It's almost a split panel on this one. It is a split panel on this one. I'm taking the Bengals at home. I just don't like the way the Vikings generally play on the road.
So is Mrs. C, and so is the governor. Everybody else takes the Vikings. So Dave, as he said, points out a split. Always love the splits, especially if it's really hot gymnast. All right. This one shocked me. Cardinals at Titans. This could actually be considered one of the best matchups of the weekend.
It could be, and we, across the board, go with the Titans.
No faith with Cliff Kingsbury, no faith with Kyler Murray on the road against a really good Titans team.
Yeah, they're just solid.
Yeah.
They got a decent defense, running game to control the ball game, and enough offense to get you the points.
Yep. Another interesting, good but not great matchup, Seahawks at the Colts. What do we get out of Carson Wentz?
Do we get Carson Wentz?
Are the Seahawks stuck in the mud? I mean, for the last couple of years, they've been 10-6, 11-5. They might win a playoff game, but then they end up getting pasted. You know, the Packers might paste them. The 49ers might. Whoever they end up facing in that second round.
Now, this should be a make or break year for Carroll.
I agree, but I don't think it is. I agree, but I don't think it is. They have got enough talent to be better than what they've shown recently.
For sure. They've spent enough.
Everybody but Sam and Bill goes with the Seahawks. They are sticking with the home team, the Colts. I do like Frank Reich as a head coach. I think he's underrated, but with Carson Wentz under center, you got to prove it to be first.
No kidding.
Real quick here to wrap up our last half a dozen picks or so. Chargers at Washington. Another great matchup. I love Justin Herbert, but I also love Ron Rivera, and I love that defense. And with Ryan Fitzpatrick, I think the Redskins win the NFC East.
It's possible that they could do that. I just don't know if he's there enough to get him going in the first week.
So you are taking the Chargers. So is Sam. So is Doug. Everybody else takes Washington. Jets at Panthers. God help me for saying it, but I'll take Sam Darnold.
Yeah, I know.
Over the Jets just don't look ready yet.
No, they do not.
They got the high drafted quarterback. They've had injuries on the defense. Everybody but Jen takes the Panthers. Jaguars at Texans. Come on. Urban Meyer has got to be better than this Tully guy, right?
I would think so.
Trevor Lawrence has got to be better than Tyrod Taylor, even in his first game. James Robinson, the running back, even though they lost Etienne, James Robinson's got to be better than the combination of Ingram and Lindsey and David Johnson.
The Texans don't know what they want to be. They don't know what they want to do.
I think they're tanking for the next great quarterback is what they're doing. And hoping that somehow they get some relief and can get rid of Deshaun Watson.
Probably not going to happen.
Everybody takes the Jaguars except for Jen. She goes with the Texans. Browns at Chiefs. Nobody believes in the Browns yet when it comes to playing in Kansas City. Everybody takes the Chiefs except the governor. Sees the upset. Good for him. I don't.
No, neither do I.
This one shocked me. Dolphins at Patriots. Thought more people would go with Belichick, but 5 Dolphins picks versus 3 Patriots picks.
I got to know what Jones has before I have any confidence trying to take the Patriots at this point.
What about Tua, though?
They're at home.
No, it's at New England.
Oh, is it at New England?
Yes.
I wasn't paying attention to that. Nah, I still don't. I still trust Tua more so.
Packers versus the Saints in Jacksonville because of the hurricane. Everybody takes the Packers. Broncos at the Giants. Interesting matchup. I cannot go with Teddy Bridgewater, but you are.
I am.
Maybe because of the defense.
Defense is what I'm thinking on that one. The Giants' offense is just offensive.
Broncos for Dave, Bill, and Jen. Everybody else. Giants. Of course, the injuries with the running backs and the defense came down today with the Ravens. We didn't know that. Picks were due last night. Dave gets lucky.
I'm on Raider Island, baby.
Everybody else took the Ravens. There you go. Now it's time to take a break and go into the college game.
All right.
We'll be right back, kids.
In a world of politically correct sports coverage, Two individuals stand alone as the last bastion of sanity. The Maestro and the Conquistador star in Sports Frenzy 2.0, the podcast.
Available on Spotify, Anchor, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Breaker, Apple, Overcast, and Castbox.
All right, welcome back to Sports Frenzy 2.0 here on September 9th. Segment 2 here, NCAA football. I'm the Conquistador, Dave Height.
And I'm the Maestro, Kevin Crane.
And we're going to give you a recap of the carnage from last weekend, along with some of our picks for this week upcoming.
Yes, I show 7 of the teams that were ranked in the initial AP poll got beat week 1.
Yeah. Wow.
Yep. So do the math, kids. That's over 25%.
Yeah, not a good start.
I know they don't teach that in schools anymore.
Percentages along with cursive handwriting.
I was just thinking math. Critical race theory first, math later.
Yeah, you got to pick what's important to get you through life.
But we would be remiss if I didn't let the Conquistador talk about our local team.
You don't want to take your favorite team's slaughter?
That's the whole point. Why would I talk about that game? Why would I talk about the Hurricanes getting destroyed by Alabama 44-13? I didn't even watch 10 minutes of the game.
There you go.
I knew what was coming. It happened.
There you go.
The entertaining Notre Dame Florida State game was something to behold.
It was more entertaining and a closer game than it ever should have been. Florida State really should not have been in that game. Notre Dame played a horrible second half to let Florida State in and to even take the lead where they had to come back and do the tie. I mean, it was just a poor performance by both the offense and the defense. Execution was horrible. As Coach Kelly said that his team should be executed for that performance, kind of misconstruing John McKay's famous quote when asked about his team's execution of the day, where he goes, "I'm in favor of it. We didn't tackle well today, but we made up for it by not blocking." So basically, that's what kind of performance Notre Dame gave. They did not execute well at all.
But of course, everybody gets up in arms about the fact he botched the quote.
And they wanted to execute
like
his
he wanted
team.
To kill his team.
Sometimes
it's amazing to me. The same people that get up in arms about this stuff are the ones that are more than willing to smash windows, loot stores,
and
kill
mass
police
chaos.
officers.
Yeah.
But they get up in arms about a quote like this that was just butchered.
Yeah.
Get over
butchered.
it. Get over it.
Idiots. Morons. So
41-38 was the final score. We talked about, we did not watch the game together, but we both did watch the full game. We did talk about ESPN's broadcasting crew was abysmal.
Oh my God,
Joe Tessitore
bad.
had to talk about this Mackenzie Milton kid who came
the quarterback.
You would have thought it was Rudy. You would have thought it was every possible hero in sports history wrapped up and entwined into one human being who might possibly also save all of mankind.
His knee was totally destroyed. He wasn't expected to ever walk again, let alone play football. How many of these stories have we seen over the years?
And it was a fine story, but they really brought it up every
into the
5 minutes.
Every 5 minutes. How about every time he made a play?
Jesus God. Now, I will say he was so much better than the starting quarterback. The kid who started the game for the Seminoles just looked like a deer in headlights.
Yeah, Milton was a hell of a lot better. But still.
But yeah, that being said, get typical ESPN.
Yeah, because they also focused on the young kid in the wheelchair who I can't think of his name now, from Florida State, their lineman, who took this kid under his wing. Actually, the kid was a Notre Dame fan.
Right.
And when this guy played at Notre Dame, took a liking to the kid, treated him like a little brother. He transferred to Florida State to be closer to him and the family.
Yeah. It wasn't quite as bad as the Mackenzie Milton stuff, though.
No. But, that was a decent feel-good story. But they kept going over and showing them every chance they got to.
And you got to keep in mind, kids, this is the first year where we've done this podcast. So you have to understand something. The Maestro ain't a Notre Dame fan. So don't take this in any way, shape, or form as me sticking up for Notre Dame.
He will not do it.
No, I'm just ripping on the coverage, the Rat, and their little subsidiary known as ESPN.
Yeah, it was focusing more on those human interest stories versus what was actually going on the field.
Yeah, I was halfway expecting Booger McFarland to scoot onto the field in his little handicap scooter he had a couple years ago on Monday Night Football. So like I mentioned, number 10, North Carolina. Number 12, Wisconsin. Number 16, LSU. Number 17, IU. Number 20, Washington. Number 23, Louisiana, all lost. But, of course, the big Titanic battle was the Georgia-Clemson game, which saw number 3, Clemson, get knocked off. This was a slobber knocker.
That was one of the all-time great defensive performances by both teams. The difference was
the pick six.
That Georgia got.
Yep, the pick six. And I'll tell you what, everybody knows Dave and I disagree on paying the players. All I'm going to say is all week leading up into this game, I saw the Dr. Pepper commercial with DJ.
Yep. There you go.
And I'm not going to even try to say his last name because I've had a couple beers.
Yeah.
But he got paid NIL money to be in that Dr. Pepper commercial.
And he throws the pick
and
six.
He looked like shit.
He looked
against Georgia.
Awful.
Not taking anything away from Kirby Smart's defense, but he looked like shit.
Lost. He looked lost out there.
He ain't Deshaun Watson. He ain't Trevor Lawrence right now. I'll tell you that.
Not even close.
And even though we did preview this game, and we talked about the fact that this was the outcome that could serve both teams well, because Georgia's going to have to play Alabama at some point.
Right.
They'll probably lose that game. Clemson can ride through the ACC with a mediocre team and still come out with one loss total.
Yeah, they could still be in contention.
Georgia could not lose this game, and they did not.
They had to win it, and they took care of business.
I'm wondering, though, if this is not going to somehow open the door for somebody else. If Clemson now stumbles one more time.
And by the play of their quarterback, they damn well could. It could definitely open the door.
Yes. It'll be very interesting to see how this all plays out. It was great to have a couple games like the Notre Dame Florida State game and the Georgia Clemson game to really kick off this season.
Yeah.
Because now the polls have shifted dramatically. Georgia jumps all the way up to number 2. Clemson slips to 6. Not devastating. They can make that up. Iowa jumps all the way up to 10 after pounding Indiana, which we talked about.
Yeah. We
didn't trust Indiana.
No. They were coming off the greatest season they've had, and I didn't like the way they ended the year, and I didn't think they could maintain it. And it doesn't look like they're going to be able to.
Yeah, but now the one that tricked us with the other team that made a huge jump in the polls was Penn State, jumped all the way up to number 11. I said I didn't trust Franklin. I didn't trust that program. I figured Wisconsin early on is pretty
At
much
home.
gold, especially at home.
Wow. That was a letdown and a half right there.
Yep. And they play, as I recall, we were talking about the Notre Dame schedule, those two teams coming up here pretty soon. I think Wisconsin and Notre Dame. Wisconsin cannot lose another game.
No,
so you wonder how
and
desperate they're going to be. But that's the fun of this whole deal. I'll take pro football any day over college, but if we can somehow, as we have talked about for the last couple months, blow up college football, I'm all for it. Speaking of which, our final topic in college football before we get to a light slate this week of picks. Everything we said came true with the Big 12. Everything we wanted came true. Now I think we're still going to have a Power 5 because basically the Big 12 went out and got the best 4 teams they possibly could.
Yep.
Without poaching from any of the other Power 5s.
Monster, yeah.
They got BYU, they got Cincinnati, they got UCF, and they got Houston, and it's mutual love. Those 4 schools immediately applied.
Well, yeah, UCF needed
and they're saying,
Power 5 conference to
by
be able to have
by
a
tomorrow,
shot.
They're saying the Big 12 will approve and accept them.
Well, yeah, they would be stupid not to.
But that makes the Big 12 actually 12 teams again. They were 10 before.
Yeah, so this is a good thing overall.
It's bad for the smaller conferences.
It is, losing UCF and losing Cincinnati and BYU going away and Houston.
Well, BYU's been kind of floating around. They were independent.
Yeah, and then...
So, but yeah, I feel bad for the smaller conferences because now what do? You know, do they go out and poach teams from even smaller conferences?
It's the frickin' merry-go-round that will not end, all because of stupid money to the SEC from the rat.
I know this is going to sound crazy. There's part of me that actually thinks the Big 12 will now be actually more interesting with Texas and Oklahoma gone, like we talked about with Nebraska when they went to the Big 10 and they became irrelevant.
Yeah.
Now I think this is going to make for a very competitive, very solid Big 12. I really do.
It will. It's going to be very interesting to see how Texas and Oklahoma fare in the SEC now.
I think this actually gives Cincinnati, which right now is a really good program, ranked in the top 10.
Bolsters them big time.
This might actually make them more of a favorite in the coming years if they can sustain the level they're at right now. This makes them, to me, more of a favorite to make the college football playoff than Texas or Oklahoma.
Yeah, because they're going from ruling the roost, especially Oklahoma, to how are they going to recruit in the SEC?
Yeah. Yeah, have fun with Georgia every year. Alabama possibly every year.
Yeah. They're going to fall kind of like Nebraska did going to the Big 10.
Yep.
Watch out for it.
All right. Real quick here, and then we'll move on. I think we're actually going to be able to do this in 3 segments this week. Possibly, maybe. Not a lot of games on the NCAA slate. We're only going to hit a couple of them here. If you want to see the full slate of all of our picks,
go to our Facebook page.
Only got 7 college picks this week. The Iowa at Iowa State game's interesting.
Yep. The interstate rivalries are always good. They're both ranked.
Iowa State's defensive power. How good is Iowa? I mean, again, we talked about this and we predicted that IU was kind of not as good as everybody thought they were going to be.
Right.
So now I'm going to go with Iowa State. I think Iowa State with the defense. I don't trust Kirk Ferentz. I trusted him last week because, again,
see, I
thought Indiana was a little bit of a sham.
Yeah.
But you're with me.
I thought so too. I thought about Iowa, but Iowa State has been more solid over the last few years. Definitely,
and I will always
on both
defer
sides
to
of the
I will
ball.
always defer to defense.
Yeah,
I will. So most of the panel agrees with us. Bill and Aaron are going with Iowa. The rest of us go Iowa State. It is a home game for Iowa State.
Yep.
The other game on the slate that really intrigues me, how far Washington has fallen over the last 2 or 3 years. It used to be a dependable top 10, top 15 team.
Well,
now they stumble out of the gate.
Peterson's no longer coaching them.
I know, but still, you would think there'd be a little bit of carryover. I know we talked about Florida State and how that program fell apart. There was no carryover.
Yeah. Doesn't seem to be much here in Washington either.
Going up again, Harbaugh every week, the drama, week by week. Can he win? Can he keep winning? Can he get to that high echelon level?
It's against a weak Washington team, but they're at home. They should win it.
Yep.
Most of us are taking Michigan.
Yeah, we got 2 Washington picks, Sam and Doug. The rest of us go with the Wolverines. So there you go, kids. Those are your college picks for the week. All right, let's move on. Let's talk a little NASCAR. We got time. Let's wedge it in here into this segment.
Yep, let's push it through. Darlington, race 1 of the chase, goes to Denny Hamlin with his first win of the season.
Yes, very impressive. Great race, by the way. I know. I don't think you watched it, right?
I did not get to see it. I watched some of the highlights.
And now you heard about the whole thing with his girlfriend, right? Did you hear about this?
No.
This was one of the reasons why I didn't know what was going to happen with him, because there were social media. God, social media
sucks.
The bane of everyone's existence.
Keep that thought in mind when we get to MLB.
He broke up with his longtime girlfriend. They've got a couple kids together, and she was putting out tweets about, oh, I'm going to start talking about stuff. Oh, I'm going to start telling people stuff about what's really been happening. But I still have not been able to confirm whether or not. Now, this was posted on a major media outlet. Not on the NASCAR sites, but on the regular news websites. The thing that threw me off when I read the stories, and they were posted for 2 or 3 solid days, was that, you know how they do the hashtag crap?
Oh, that. Yeah.
She was hashtagging Denny Hamilton. Not Denny Hamlin, Denny Hamilton. So I was is the reporter an idiot for not getting the hashtag right? Did he let autocorrect screw it up? What's going on here? I haven't heard anything since.
He
goes out, he wins the race, so this might be one of those times when there was smoke but no fire.
Yeah. Somebody just smarted
No,
off.
I'm not saying Tony Stewart was somehow involved.
No.
But yeah, good for Denny to win his first race.
Oh,
wait. Busch. It's time for our Kyle Busch update.
$50,000 fine for being an angry asshat.
Almost driving over a guy, pushing a tank across the entry to the garage area because he was so mad.
One, he flew down onto pit road, running over cones, sending them flying in the vicinity of spectators who were down in that area. Then comes flying through pit road, through the wall to get to the garage area, not paying attention, and almost runs a couple people down. And there's no excuse for driving that damn fast in that area. He deserves every bit of that penalty, if not more.
And then, of course, when they caught him for an interview later on national TV, he decided to say he had a shit team.
A shit car.
Yeah. And of course, Kyle Petty had to come out and apologize for his language.
But at least he owned up to the incident where he came down into Austin Dillon, causing the wreck.
He did. He did not try to blame Austin Dillon. He took responsibility for it.
And then blamed his shit team and shit car. So he kind of took responsibility.
But there were a lot of cars, a lot of drivers with a lot of problems in that race. Not just, physically damaging the car. There was Martin Truex, our pick for last week, got nailed twice. Once he got screwed by a loose wheel, and the second time he got nailed for speeding. Still managed to come back and finish fourth, but
it killed him on the extra points.
The loose wheel was the one that killed us, because that was the one that kept him from getting any stage points in segment 2, and we could have used 4 or 5 extra points.
That would have been helpful there,
because in our standings that dropped us down a little bit. Now, we expected this. We talked about this.
Yep.
We knew Kyle Larson was going to have a great race. We knew Sam and Bill were probably going to jump out in the lead. Fine. But yeah, that's what we're looking at now with our Frenzy Cup competition, is now that we're not racing against the NASCAR drivers like we do in our first 26.
We're against each other at this point.
So those bonus points we lost
hurt
from Truex in that second segment hurt. And everybody admitted he had the best car out there. He should have won that race. Should have won that race. So that being said, we move on to the playoff race number 2.
Saturday night at Richmond.
Yes, 9/11. Of course, it's going to be a very solemn, very sad day across the sports landscape with NASCAR running, college football,
tributes
Yankees and
everywhere.
Mets playing in New York. So, of course, NASCAR's race at Richmond is the Federated Auto Parts Salute to American Heroes 400. Very intriguing picks among our 8 panelists as we go 2-2-2-2.
Ooh.
So nobody on an island, but you got your partner here you're going to have to deal with this week.
Yeah. There we go.
So you're going to have to be rooting with somebody who is your mortal enemy.
It never fails in this competition here.
So the elder statesman and I agree that Mr. Hissy Fit Kyle Busch,
don't drive angry.
He will bounce back. He's in desperation mode.
Yep.
He is in desperation mode, even though he's starting, I think, 15th. Because of the formula.
Yeah, stupid formula.
I think he'll be good. I think he is going to try to prove to everybody
that
he's not out yet.
Yeah. Right now, I am sticking with my master plan that I had sketched out. And I'm going for a back-to-back double like I got to end the season with Blaney. I'm taking Hamlin at Richmond.
Yeah, I was going to say, it worked for you with Blaney. Why wouldn't it work again? It
Why
could
not?
work again. He's great at Richmond.
He runs very well there.
I'm starting to get in conservation mode. I'm looking to drop back. I'm treating this all now like Talladega. I'm going to drop to the back of the pack, but keep myself inside of the leader. And then when I get to the final 4 races, I have the guys that are still in it, and everybody else has burned them all already. I will be sitting pretty. I will draft my way to the front, and I will reclaim the Frenzy Cup. Jen and Doug take Joey Logano. And, of course, I did not mention with you, Aaron.
Aaron
you're paired with the Big Easy with Denny Hamlin.
Go.
And then the Big Blue W and Nick the Juggler are taking Truex this week. That could be a good pick. That could really be a good pick.
It could.
So Bill could jump out to a very healthy lead here. So we'll see how it all plays out. Couple minutes left here. We've got some racing news to discuss. We've talked about the possibility of the Cup Series running at the LA Coliseum now on and off for a couple months. Again, rumors are starting to heat up, but the good news is it will not be, it looks like, a regular season points race.
That would be a good thing at this point.
The latest rumor is they are going to run in the LA Coliseum in the very first event, not race, but event of 2022. It will replace the Clash at Daytona as an exhibition race.
So this is the one where all your pole winners from the previous year and past winners of the event get to run. Basically, it's a dash for cash.
Right. And I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, something a little different.
And the thing is, Daytona can't bitch and piss and moan and complain, because now if they keep the schedule similar to what it was this year,
they got 3 damn races.
They can't complain. Yeah,
so.
they've got 3 races. They cannot complain if they lose the exhibition.
Yeah,
Clash.
It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
It's kind of lost its luster of late.
Well,
anyway.
you know how I am about this crap. If it doesn't matter, I don't watch it. Golf, if it's not a major, I don't watch it. Racing, I don't watch the All-Star race. Baseball All-Star game, only time I watched it was when home field was involved. The minute they backed off on that a couple years ago, because they're wuss bags and they couldn't stand by something that was actually, in my opinion, smart.
Yeah, it was a great thing.
Made these guys actually show up and play.
Yeah, I mean, everybody, the All-Star game. No, usually it's a crap fest. But when home field was on the line for baseball, you had some damn good games.
Yep. So I won't watch anything that doesn't matter when it comes to the regular season for that particular sport or for historical matters.
There you go.
Again, tennis, golf. If it's not a major, who gives a rat's ass?
There you go.
All right, kids. Next time you hear us in our final segment this week, we will be reporting on the opening game as the Buccaneers and Cowboys are kicking off as we wrap up segment 2.
Yep. Stay tuned, kids.
Hello, friends. Are you tired of the boring sports analysis you get from the major outlets? If so, join the Maestro and the Conquistador for a riveting discussion of all sports topics on Sports Frenzy 2.0, available on Spotify, Google, Apple, and wherever podcasts are available.
All right, welcome back to Sports Frenzy 2.0 here on September 9th as we're coming back from the opening drives of the NFL. I'm the Conquistador, Dave Height.
Yep, I'm the Maestro, Kevin Crane. 2 great punts to start off the season with the Buccaneers and the Cowboys.
Buccaneers go 3 and out. Their punter drops one inside the coffin corner at the 2-yard line.
And then the Cowboys get a decent drive. They come back, but they get stalled out, and their punter nails it down at the 6-yard line.
Yeah, so good punts right off the bat there.
Who would have thought it'd be a defensive battle so far?
Yeah, interesting. All right, back to our topic at hand.
Yep, we're
Major
going to wrap
League
up
Baseball.
Yep, we're going to wrap up this week. Only doing 3 segments this week. We thought we might have to go 4, but we're going to cram it all in 3.
That's right.
That's what she said.
But bump.
Your White Sox
scuffling along. Thankfully, so is everybody else in their division. Frustrating to watch. They'll hit or they won't. They'll score or they won't. Injury again. Eloy Jimenez, now day-to-day with the bone bruise on his right knee, sitting in the dugout. Foul ball comes screaming in and catches him. He stayed in the game, but it stiffened up on him, so now they've got him held out.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say that every comment.
There you go. Pitching is Spot starters needed because Rodon was out with a stiff shoulder. He should be back for game 1 against Boston this weekend. Lance Lynn should be back for a start on Sunday, and then Lucas Giolito should be back next Tuesday.
Yep.
So help is on the way, and God, they need it as bad as Dallas Keuchel is pitching right now. He has been absolutely abysmal, and it all started when they banned the sticky stuff.
And we talked about this. Once you get to the playoffs, and the White Sox will make the playoffs, the thing is, we were discussing, they're getting close enough now to the Astros where the scuffling now isn't hurting them in terms of making the postseason. No, it's hurting them in terms of getting that number 2 seed. Because Tampa's going to clinch
Tampa's
number 1.
got number 1. They are just on such a tear.
Right.
But the Astros are struggling along. They're letting Seattle right back into things.
Right. But you've got, if they're healthy, Giolito, Lynn, Rodon, and then
Cease has been a
don't
solid
worry about
Keuchel.
Keuchel. You're stressing out about Keuchel when you don't need to.
No, but it's sad that we're looking at that's a guaranteed loss whenever he takes the mound right now.
Right. And there's a chance he might not even make the postseason roster.
Right. You've got Lambert, who's come in, spot starting, is looking pretty good. We'll have to see.
Can Keuchel take on that kind of role?
Coming out of the bullpen?
I can't remember what he was doing when he was with the Astros. I assume he was one of the guys in the rotation.
Yeah, he was a rotation guy.
So can he take on a long relief role if needed? Otherwise, you don't put him on the postseason roster.
And I don't think you do at this point.
And you can always switch every round.
So you're going to have to leave him off at this point. So
80-60 right now after the loss today to the Athletics. But again, the White Sox are in clear control of the Central. The Cubs coming off an unbelievable winning streak.
Where the hell are they coming out of? No pressure. They're just going out and playing.
I told you last week, man. They're starting to resemble that Orlando Magic team.
Guys playing for their future.
Yep. They only got a couple years left. They were mired in the minors forever. Wisdom, Ortega.
Yeah, these guys are just on fire.
Hermosillo, these guys. Now, all of a sudden, Hap decides that he wants to start playing baseball again. I said Wisdom was going to be the leader in home runs for the Cubs, but now Hap's on fire. He might catch Wisdom. Jason Hayward, for the love of God, hit a 3-run game-winning home run.
He hasn't hit a home run in how long?
Oh, come on. He's got 8 this year, Dave.
Ooh.
For the, 26, 27 million he's making this year.
Yep.
But the Cubs are 65-76. Much more respectable than I thought it would be. Not going to lose 100 games. Might not even lose 90. They might actually post a respectable record. And all of this has been happening with David Ross and Jed Hoyer contracting COVID.
Yep, so you have your bench coach leading the charge right now.
And, of course, we talked about this. I do find this very funny that
the
pitcher who won 2 of the games in the winning streak is named F. Ross. But now you told me you heard that Ross actually has played off of that and made a joke about it.
I think.
Oh, was it Mr. C? Okay. That said that David Ross actually came out and said, yeah, I'm really happy that he's doing well because when I hear F. Ross, I'm thinking it's about him.
They're talking good about the team and the pitcher and not telling me what I can do with myself.
That being said, kind of a down week with baseball. This is what you get. You still got a couple weeks to go before we really get into the heat of any wild card or divisions that are going to come down to the last couple games.
Yeah. The East and the wild card is getting interesting because the Yankees, after that 13-game winning streak, have lost 8 of their last 10 now and are struggling mightily.
The Red Sox have actually gotten by them.
Yeah.
So now the Red Sox would host the wild card game. Toronto's charging.
Toronto's making their run right now. Seattle is right there, and who knows what the A's are going to wind up doing.
Right. In the NL, I still think it's going to end up being what we thought it was going to be. I've got to believe San Diego's going to end up catching fire at some point here.
You would think, but they have been on a long slide, though.
Yeah, they're fighting with Cincinnati for that second wild card spot.
Spiral.
Yeah, we know that either the Giants or the Dodgers are going to win the West. The other one's going to host the wild card.
Yep.
Brewers are going to win the Central. The East, I don't think anybody really gives a crap because whoever comes out of the East is going to get pummeled.
They're going to get torched.
And pummeled quickly.
Yeah.
No. Is it going to be Atlanta? Let's hope it's not the Mets after our rant about the Mets and the thumbs down and the lost earring. And
well, now they're just happy that DeGrom, there's no issue with the elbow.
It healed itself. Yeah, it somehow healed itself.
Yeah, there's no structural damage. Okay, but there's still no timeline for his return.
Buccaneers just scored!
Took a touchdown.
The Buccaneers just scored.
The
defending champions
draw first blood.
That's right. Tom Brady to Godwin.
And they're going for 2.
No, it's replay.
Oh, that's the replay. Okay, never mind. So that's what we get for turning back.
No, we don't want to because that's my fantasy kicker. Suck up this week. That's a point for me.
Well,
but
maybe.
All right, Buccaneers up 7-0.
Yeah, he got it.
5 minutes to go in the first quarter in the kickoff game for the NFL 2021 season. All right, couple other notes in baseball. We move on to our moments of silence and the dumbasses of the week, as well as miscellaneous sports notes. Got to be negative. Going to have to be negative here.
I've got a negative one for you, too, although I think I might roll this into a dumbass. So,
Bob Boone, the Nationals vice president, long time. I mean, he was a stellar figure for a long time with the Phillies. I remember having his baseball card, watching him. Of course, Aaron Boone.
Yep.
Brett Boone, his sons have made their mark. He resigns from being vice president with the Nationals over the mandate
that they get the vaccine.
Yeah, you better talk to your president today, buddy, because he's coming for you.
Yep.
I guess he saw the writing on the wall. That's why.
Yeah, so he said, I'm out. Whatever.
Yeah, if you've listened to us, you know how we feel about the vaccine mandates. We don't like the mandates, but the responsible thing is to get the shot.
Yeah.
Now, beyond that, I'm with you guys 110%. Nobody should be forced to do anything, including a vaccination or wearing a mask, but
at the same time,
you need to be mature and responsible, at least with the shot. I'll fight with you on the mask. I'm done. I'm not putting a mask on again. Not doing it. I'm tired of not being able to breathe. I'm tired of not being able to look out of my glasses.
If you don't want to wear the mask, get the damn shot, but you got to do something.
Exactly. Perfectly said. Take responsibility somewhere and do something so we can get over this crap. Again, negative stuff. Had to happen in San Francisco. San Francisco Giants concessions workers are striking over pay, safety, and health care. And again, it comes back to COVID.
They're not full-time employees.
They're mad because they can't handle telling people, put your mask on. Put your mask on. Stop taking your mask off. Put your mask on. Fine. Again, it comes down to get vaccinated so we don't have to put up with this mask crap. Because I'll tell you, the first person that comes after me and says, put your mask on, I'm going to go both barrels at him. I got my shot. Leave me alone. I social distance because I hate humanity.
There you go.
I don't want to hear the Naomi Osaka of soda vendors whining and crying about, I get tired of telling you to put your mask on. Speaking of which, David, I don't have her down as a dumbass. I figured we'd just kind of nail her.
collectively.
Well, I shouldn't say
No,
that.
I wouldn't touch that with anything.
Even though she's putting herself on the cover of the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue.
No. Our favorite snowflake had another meltdown. Miss Naomi Osaka reigns again, solidifying her almost number one seed in the running for Dumbass of the Year.
Yeah, it's going to be really hard now. We've 3/4 of the way through the year almost.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough to unseat her.
She has another meltdown in a losing in a match, and she just doesn't know when she's going to play again until the next major, when miraculously she's going to be able to show up after doing another round of interviews.
Yeah. It's
God,
almost
it's comical.
It's almost becoming a typical generic response for her now. Every time she gets challenged, every time something bad happens. And the thing is, she threw a fit on the court. She threw her racket. She smashed her racket. She hit a ball into the stands. She threw a temper tantrum.
She did.
And then she goes, oh my God, don't you pick on me anymore. I'm done with tennis. I'm taking a break.
Yeah, well, quit drawing attention to yourself.
Now, I will say this. The first thing I thought of again, I was like, oh my God, here we go. Another 5 minutes where we're going to have to rip on Naomi Osaka. There was a little teeny tiny part of me that was thinking, who is behind the scenes?
Who's her
with her
handler, her
parents,
agent?
her agent, PR people. Is somebody giving her
Horrible
awful,
advice?
shitty advice that's making her miserable like this? Now, she's old enough. She's an adult. She could tell these people, screw off, leave me alone. I'll do what I want. If I don't want to do SI, I won't.
Exactly.
So ultimately,
it comes down to her responsibility.
It's on her. But I just wonder if there are not people behind the scenes causing the problems that she's having mentally and emotionally. I am not exonerating her. I am not exonerating her. I will not back off on the things I've said over the last couple months about her. She's an adult. She can say yes. She can say no. Her pattern of behavior tells me she is manipulating everybody.
Yep.
The fans, the media, and
everyone.
Then I mentioned to you, somebody put out the theory that she's trying to still get over this match from years ago where Serena Williams, she beat Serena, but Serena Williams yelled at the line judge and got in an argument, and the fans were clapping and yelling and cheering for Serena, and Naomi Osaka hasn't gotten over it because she didn't understand why I won the match. Why aren't they chanting my name and cheering for me and clapping for me? Well,
nobody knew who the hell you
why
are.
Don't you win as many Grand Slams as Serena does, and then maybe you'll get a break, and maybe people will cheer for you even when you're acting like an idiot like she was.
Well said. In a nutshell.
All right. A couple other tidbits here before we move on to the moments of silence and the dumbasses.
Got a little NHL. The NHL and the International Olympic Committee have come to an agreement that the players will participate in the Olympics in Beijing, with the caveat that if the COVID spikes become too dangerous, they can pull out.
That's what she said. Oh. Now, this one doesn't bother me so much. Normally, you know how I am with PC crap.
Crap. Tie game.
I had a feeling this was going to be a high-scoring game. Cowboys just scored. Minute and a half to go in the first. 7-7, it looks like.
Pending the extra
point. All right. This one doesn't bother me. I'm actually fine with this. The Baylor's women's basketball team, they're no longer going to be called the Lady Bears. They're just going to be the Bears. I'm fine with that.
That's fine.
I never understood the whole lady thing.
Yeah.
That, to me, is kind of stupid.
Yeah.
You know, if we're going to be equal and everybody's going to be on a level playing field, then yeah, just call them the Baylor Bears. Why do we have to call them the Baylor Lady Bears?
Yeah.
So this is one time where I will
That's
side.
where they were doing the Lady Vols, the Lady
Right,
Irish.
exactly,
You don't have the Lady Trojans.
Oh, that's what she said, Dave. Oh, this is going to be a fun 10 minutes here to wrap up this segment. I'm still trying to figure out this whole thing with the NBA with the unvaccinated players in New York and in San Francisco. The Nets,
bizarre.
the Knicks, and the Warriors, based on the dictates in their home cities, right now, unless things change, I got to believe they're going to change, the players for the home teams will not be allowed to participate in the games if they are not vaccinated.
Right, because it's their home city.
Visiting players can, under strict quarantine rules.
Right, they will be allowed to go in to play, but they will not be allowed to leave their hotel rooms or wherever they're staying.
Just very bizarre. Just very bizarre. You know, this whole thing.
It's a cluster.
We're a year and a half in, and we still don't know the rules. How? I can't wait. It would be great. Now, don't get me wrong. It would be great if the New Jersey Nets couldn't play Kevin Durant or Kyrie Irving. I don't know what their vaccination statuses are.
Wow, that would be
Harden.
hard. That would.
I could see Kyrie Irving being the guy who doesn't get vaccinated. And, look, I get time off. I get more time off.
All right, I'm going to go hang with my family.
Yeah, I'm going to go hang out with a political candidate or go to a birthday party with my sister's, niece's, cousin's uncle.
Yeah, wherever I want to go.
Still, it bothers me on that team to this day. Kevin Durant puts up with this crap. He's the one guy I thought had the heart of a champion.
And
really
would have put his foot down on these antics. Yeah.
All right. This was funny. Just a quick financial note. Yes, we're going to do a little bit of finance here on Sports Frenzy. Again, like math, when we talked about that earlier, you don't get taught finances, kids, so we'll guide you through here.
Yep. Drop the 0, carry the 1.
Patrick Cantlay won the Tour Championship and won the FedEx Cup. $15 million. Here's the great part of it. I mean, $15 million is pretty damn great.
Yeah.
His entire career earnings, 14.6 before that. He basically doubled his career earnings by winning one tournament.
Wow.
Very interesting. Very cool.
Not bad.
ESPN. We always have to mention ESPN, especially when they make fools of themselves. Stupid. I don't understand the appeal of Stephen A. Smith. Never have, never will.
He's controversial.
I know. Geez, Kev, you being a loudmouth, controversial person.
You should recognize a kindred spirit.
He's an idiot. They booted. Now, it's like one idiot getting rid of another idiot, where they finally realized that Max Kellerman was a bigger idiot, and they finally kicked him off of First Take after a few years. Now they're going to do like rotating co-host with him. Here's you want to talk about fresh meat and a guy that's never going to be able to hold up against Stephen A.
They're
Smith.
bringing in Greenberg.
God, that would be unbelievably awful and bloody and messy. No, this is worse.
How could it be worse?
Fridays. Now that football season has begun, every Friday on First Take, Stephen A. Smith will face off against Tim Tebow.
Oh, for the love of God and all that's holy.
That's what he's going to say. That's what Tebow's going to say every time. Oh, Stephen, I'll pray for you.
No kidding.
Stephen, the good Lord will save your soul, Stephen.
Oh, man.
Can you? That's like the mismatch of all time. It's like Mike Tyson versus Pee Wee Herman. And I don't even like Stephen A. Smith, but he's been doing this for years and years. He can debate.
He knows.
He can yell. He can rip you to shreds. Tim Tebow does not strike me as the kind of guy who will ever be able to go toe-to-toe with Stephen A. Smith.
Oh, man. Wow.
All right. Moments of silence. 3 football ones that I've got. I've got Tunch Ilkin, Steelers great. Keith McCants. And then David Patton died in a motorcycle crash. He was not that far removed from his playing days.
No. Sam Bam Cunningham.
Yes. Yep.
Patriots' leading rusher passed away. And former Notre Dame head coach and halfback Terry Brennan.
So there you go, kids.
And I don't know if you want to cover it now. Yeah, why not? It's sports related. Daphne Unger, pro wrestling scream queen.
Did not know that one. Did not have that one down. Wow. Okay. Interesting. Very interesting. And of course, check out the weekend edition. We'll have moments of silence, Red Foreman dumbasses, and reviews.
Yep.
I won't talk about wrestling. I'll give Dave another week of a break, even though I want to, because AEW had the greatest week in history. They brought in they are signing everybody from WWE. The Khan family is just throwing money at all these guys to sign them. It's great. It's great.
You gotta love it. I have 2 sports dumbasses I need to call out. Sports related. This one revolves around Marcell Ozuna, baseball player who's on charges for domestic violence. My dumbass is the Fulton County DA Simone Hilton, who, if Ozuna passes his diversion program to fruitful completion, the charges will be dropped.
Fruitful completion? Is that really what you said?
Something like that.
Okay, I didn't know if that
I'm
was direct
paraphrasing.
quote. Okay.
I'm paraphrasing.
I didn't know if that from you. That's fine.
I'm paraphrasing
if
this.
That's
one.
Actually what she
no.
said.
If he completes the diversion program, the charges could be dropped and his probation could be cut in half.
Welcome to the entitled, privileged world of being a professional athlete.
Female DA, I'm calling her the dumbass for not taking a more harsh stance against domestic violence. He needs to go to the diversion program and still be charged. Examples have to be made. This shit has to stop.
But again, welcome to the world of the privileged, entitled pro athlete.
Yep.
The rules don't apply to them.
They do not. And it's breaking through social media. My wife showed me this feed that popped up. A reason that Tim Anderson might also be on the IL. His mistress is outing him through social media.
Outing him in terms of what?
Cheating on his wife.
Okay. You know, when you say outing.
Well, yeah, outing him as a cheater. Timmy. You're my guy. You're a dumbass for pulling this crap.
This is a quick aside before I get to my 3 dumbasses real quick. But I heard today that there were rumors, again, social media, so wonderful, note sarcasm.
Yeah.
DeAndre Swift, the running back for the Lions.
Yeah.
Who's fighting for his starting job.
Right.
Somebody was putting out there that he killed somebody the other night.
Oh, good.
So now they're
Lord.
looking into that, even though it's looking like it's complete and total hoax.
Wow.
But again, social media
can say
so
anything.
Wonderful. So awesome. Speaking of so wonderful and so awesome, how about the fact that we don't double check our work anymore?
What?
IU freshman running back David Holloman came out for the game against Iowa. His jersey, the front of his jersey, did not say Indiana. It said Indiana.
The only jersey.
How do you misspell Indiana on a football player's jersey from the Indiana University at Bloomington playing a nationally televised football game?
And having him as the first one out of the tunnel.
Unbelievably stupid. Unbelievable dumbass involved here.
Yeah. The company doing the uniforms royally effed up.
Okay, he got eliminated. We talked about tennis a little bit earlier. Stefanos Tsitsipas.
That's what she said.
You got that one, yep. Criticized and ridiculed, rightfully so. Tennis is a... I know you're going to say it. Tennis is a game of rhythm. Go ahead.
No, I'm not going.
Go ahead, Dave. That's
I'm not
what she
taking
said.
the low-hanging fruit.
That's what she said.
There you go.
You've got to let players play the game. You can't have inordinately long stoppages, breaks in the action. Tsitsipas started taking 7 or 8 minute bathroom breaks.
Dude, seriously, come on.
I mean, there were players saying, I don't know about you, but it doesn't take me that long to take a dump.
Wow.
So finally, he gets eliminated, I think, in the 3rd or 4th round. But mercifully, the crowds and the other players didn't have to go through his extended long bathroom breaks.
That's ridiculous.
Which always seemed to happen when the other player was gaining momentum. So here's an idea.
How about
Mr. Tsitsipas? Take some Metamucil 4 or 5 hours before the match, clean everything out, play the game fairly.
Here you go. Wear some Depends while you're out there. And then change them between sets.
That would be the new definition of a drop shot. Finally, got to get this in real quick in the last minute. The Miami Marlins. How the hell do the Miami Marlins do this? I know they're desperate for money. I know they're trying to get cash any way they can. But the other night they were playing the Mets. They had a huge freaking mascot. A guy dressed up as a Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Behind home plate, sitting in the second row, distracting everybody and blocking the view of the few high-ticket fans
that are there.
People in the 4th or 5th row right behind home plate couldn't see the goddamn game because the Cinnamon Toast Crunch guy was waving and gesturing and blocking everything. Dumb PR move, Miami.
Very stupid.
I'm not the conquistador.
I'm the conquistador. You're the maestro.
I'm the maestro. We got to wrap it up.
Obviously.
We'll see you next week. Check out the weekend edition. Later, kids.